Good morning, everyone. Happy Feast of St. John Bosco to all the viewers. Every saint reminds us that all of us are called to holiness, and the sole aim of every human life is to become saints. On this day of the feast of this great saint of the young people, I would like to reflect with you on the ways through which he reached the heights of sanctity. Saint Francis of Sales writes in his book Introduction to Devout Life like this: do you want to begin the journey towards devotion securely? Find someone capable who can become your guide and accompany you. This is the recommendation of all recommendations. Right from his younger age, Don Bosco desired to have one who could help him and direct him spiritually. The first spiritual guide whom he encountered in his life was Father Colosso, with whom he built up a spiritual friendship. Talking about him, he says,
I put myself completely into Father Colosso's hands. I bared my soul to him, every word, thought, and act I revealed to him promptly. This pleased him because it made it possible for him to have an influence on both my spiritual and temporal welfare.
It was then that he came to realize what it was to have a regular spiritual director, a faithful friend of one's soul. He had not had one up till then. Through the instrumentality of Father Colosso, Johnny Bosco started to get the taste for spiritual life. Later, he took Father Colosso as the model to be a spiritual guide for all the young boys in his educational and pastoral ministry. After the death of Father Colosso too, Don Bosco constantly sought a guide to know God's will. When he had to discern his vocation, he was in great dilemma in making the right choice. He wanted to enter the Reformed conventuals, but he had a dream which was contrary to his wish. In these moments of confusion, he revealed his struggle to his friend Luis Comolo, who told him to make a novena and to consult his uncle. At the end of the novena, he got the reply from his uncle not to enter a monastery but to take up the clerical habit. He obeyed his advice. After his ordination, he was offered 3 situations and he had to make a choice. Firstly, he could have taken a post as tutor in the house of a Genovese gentleman with a salary of 1,000 francs a year. Secondly, the good people of Murialdo were so anxious to have him as their chaplain that they were prepared to double the salary paid to chaplains up to then. Thirdly, he could have become a curate in his native parish. At this moment of confusion and process of discernment, he sought the help of his spiritual friend Father Cafasso. The advice given to him was, you need to study moral theology and homiletics. For the present, forget all these offers and come to the convento. Don Bosco willingly offered his wise advice, though it was not in his plan. There are many such occasions when Don Bosco constantly sought the advice of his guide. In Turin, he used to go to Father Cafasso every week for confession and guidance. After his death, Don Bosco chose one of his students, who also was a holy priest, who used to come to the Basilica of Mary Help of Christians every Monday to hear his confession. Out of his experience, he understood that every youngster needs a significant person to guide him in his spiritual journey. Thus, he encouraged associations and spiritual friendships among the young people. In his oratory too, he always was a spiritual father, listening, guiding, advising, and encouraging the young boys to know God's will for them. In the life of the 3 youngsters written by Don Bosco himself, we can see tangibly his role as a spiritual guide, which led them to the heights of sanctity. On this feast day of St. John Bosco, he is exhorting all of us to seek the wise advice and counsel of an authentic spiritual guide in our striving for holiness. Let us also be a spiritual guide for many youngsters who are in dilemma in making a right choice and thus orient them towards sanctity. Happy feast to everyone.